Part 23. I made a fortune by raiding houses in ancient times. Author, Half-Life Calligraphy. Chapter 221. Chapter 221 Adopted as a concubine. Ling Chu was also curious as to why the sedan chair came to Ling's house. No one in their family has a wife or a girl to get married, so how come a sedan chair suddenly appeared? Normally speaking, for such a big event as getting married, the person welcoming the bride cannot possibly go to the wrong door. Seeing that the woman couldn't explain clearly, everyone couldn't help but be curious and wanted to go out to see what happened. Even Ling Chu couldn't help but want to go and see which house was responsible for the trouble. From the corner of her eye, she saw Ms. Dong still drinking tea with her eyes lowered. Ling Chu frowned slightly. For some reason, she felt that her mother seemed too quiet today. Except for the first time when she asked if the marriage was cancelled, she replied, and she almost didn't say anything after that. Moreover, everyone else was surprised when they heard the sedan chair, but she didn't seem to be surprised at all. Ling Chu was puzzled when suddenly a high-pitched laughter came from the door of the flower hall. "Oh, everyone is waiting. It seems that I came just in time and did not miss the right time." Everyone stared at the woman in front of them with curiosity, who was wearing new clothes, with big red flowers on her hair, heavy makeup, shaking her handkerchief, and smiling exaggeratedly. With this outfit, you can tell she is a matchmaker at a glance. Normally at times like this, the three daughters-in-law would rush to talk, but since the second wife became mute and the third wife broke her leg, these two have become quiet. Ms. Dong didn't say a word when she saw her today. She had to ask the matchmaker herself, "What do you call this sister-in-law? This is Ling Mansion. Have you gone to the wrong place?" Everyone here is almost waiting to see the matchmaker's own joke. But unexpectedly, the matchmaker's expression did not change at all, and she still had the same exaggerated smile. "Oh, madam, judging from what you said, my sister-in-law has been an iceman for many years and has received countless kisses. How could such a joke happen?" But as soon as Ms. Tai opened her mouth with a frown, she was interrupted by the matchmaker. "Your residence is the former minister of the Ministry of Husbandry's residence, right?" If it were usual for the madam to be interrupted, she would have turned cold. But this meeting was so unexpected that she couldn't even care about the matchmaker's rudeness. Ms. Tai frowned and said, "Sister-in-law Gao is right, but our family." Halfway through her words, the matchmaker clapped her palms together and once again interrupted the wife. "That's right. My sister-in-law cannot make a joke like going to the wrong place to meet the wrong bride." Without waiting for the madam to speak again, the matchmaker greeted the madam and Ling Shangshu, saying, "Congratulations, Ling Shangshu, congratulations to the madam." With a cold face, Ling Mao put the teacup in his hand on the tea table next to him, and interrupted the matchmaker unceremoniously, "Where does happiness come from?" Seeing his majestic look, the matchmaker smiled exaggeratedly, but quickly returned to normal. If Ling Mao was still the Minister of Household Affairs, this matchmaker would naturally not dare to be presumptuous, but now he has lost his official status and is nothing more than a commoner. This matchmaker has no fear in her heart. An exaggerated smile again. Ling Shangshu has been an official for many years, but it is hard to see what she is thinking. Before the matchmaker could speak, he asked with a cold face, "Tell me, since you didn't go the wrong way, why are you here today?" "I am an iceman, and I came with a sedan chair to welcome the bride." Although the matchmaker put away his exaggerated smile at Ling Mao's cold eyes, he didn't look at her with much respect. Seeing that the matchmaker was not joking, Ling Mao frowned, "But in our Ling mansion, no one has a wife or a wife, so what kind of marriage are you looking for?" Before the matchmaker could speak, Ling Mao asked again, "Which family are you marrying for, and who are you marrying?" The matchmaker shook her racket and returned to her exaggerated smile before, "Which family is naturally the Zhao family of Duke Zhao's mansion. As for the person I want to pick up today, Who else can I pick up besides your eldest girl? As soon as the matchmaker said this, everyone's eyes widened in surprise. Didn't Mr. Dong cancel the marriage between Ling Chu and Duke Zhao yesterday? Mrs. Tai was as surprised as everyone else. She even thought she heard wrongly. Sister-in-law Gao, what did you just say? Are you here today to help the Duke of Zhao marry my eldest granddaughter? The matchmaker nodded exaggeratedly. Madam, I am right, and you heard me right. I am indeed here for your eldest granddaughter. By the time she said the word, her face was as cold as ice. The teacup in his hand was placed on the table, and he turned to face Mr. Dong. Mother, didn't you say that the marriage at the Duke of Zhao's residence has been cancelled? Being questioned in front of so many people, Ms. Dong was uncharacteristically neither angry nor angry. She only said coldly, when did I say I cancelled the engagement? As soon as Mrs. Dong finished speaking, Mrs. Ling Mao and Ling Zong all stared at her. Ling Chu didn't wait for anyone else to speak, and sneered at Mr. Dong. Do you really want me to marry Zhao Jingming and become the eldest concubine? Oh, big girl, that's wrong, that's wrong. I didn't come here today to marry you and become the princess. The people who were all glaring at Mr. Dong now turned to glare at the matchmaker. What on earth is going on with this Iceman? How come the preface and the follower are so inconsistent? Just now she said she was picking up a big girl, but now she says no. Ling Chu was also confused. Could it be that she had mistakenly blamed Dong? No, Mr. Dong just denied calling off the marriage. I dare to ask sister-in-law Gao, what do you mean by this? Su Su met Zhao Qiagong and his wife. The matchmaker considered herself meeting a noble person. Faced with Ling Mao's majesty, she didn't feel nervous at all. But for some reason, facing Miss Ling's dark eyes, she couldn't help but feel fear. She must have seen it wrong. She is just a little girl who has just grown hair, so how can she be afraid of her? The matchmaker smiled with a smile on her face. The Duke of Zhao is not marrying the crown prince today, but taking a concubine. As soon as these words were said, the second lady and the third lady did not say anything, but their eyes were full of gloating. Ling Mao and Mrs. Tai's hearts sank, and they both glared at Mr. Dong. Ling Zong and the others had a look of astonishment on their faces. Ling Chu ignored the others and stared at the matchmaker to confirm again, you are here today to help Zhao Jingming, the eldest son of the Duke of Zhao, accept me as his concubine, right? The matchmaker clapped her hands together and nodded, that's right. After Ling Chu returned to Beijing, everyone in the Ling family knew that she had a bad temper. Everyone looked at her subconsciously. Everyone thought she would be angry. To everyone's surprise, Ling Chu not only didn't get angry, she even smiled. The woman guarding the door glanced at Ling Chu. Is this young girl going crazy with anger? She wanted to break off the engagement when she was asked to be the imperial concubine, but now she wants to take her as a concubine, but she is smiling happily. Seeing Ling Chu's smile, Ling Mao and his wife frowned more and more. They didn't think Ling Chu was happy, because although she was smiling, her smile didn't reach her eyes. Ling Chu ignored everyone's thoughts, but smiled at the matchmaker and said, thank you for your trip today, please come back. Then he turned to the maid behind him and told the maid behind him, Xiaoji, see off the guests. Thanks to book friends 2017100620155712 monthly votes for their support. Thank you pros. BA, UN1, Yangliuan, 2021022120741050, neither cat nor mouse can play, 20230216687754, 854-729, King Shichuang Chuang, 2023-032-1629. CE, Tibi Yanfu, Kixi Yao, 140212184021428, 202303061958333531, 20230601621658. Recommendation votes from Sankai, DB and other book friends. End of this chapter. I made a fortune by raiding houses in ancient times. Author, Half-Life Calligraphy. Chapter 222. Chapter 222 Adopted as a Concubine. Xiaoji came over with a sullen face and wanted to invite the matchmaker out. But the matchmaker didn't move. It was as if she hadn't heard Ling Chu's words asking her to leave. "Girl, it's getting late and the sedan chair is still waiting outside. You'd better take the time to dress up and don't miss the auspicious moment." The matchmaker didn't move, and Ling Chu couldn't move either. Still sitting on the chair, he smiled and said, "Since you don't want to leave in an empty sedan chair, then whoever agrees to the marriage will be allowed to get on your sedan chair." "Sister Chu, what are you talking about?" As soon as Ling Chu said this, Ling Zong shouted angrily at her with a dark face. Although he was annoyed with his wife for agreeing to give her eldest daughter to the Prince of Zhaoqiagong as a concubine, Ling Chu's words were too treasonous. It was her mother who agreed to the marriage. She meant to ask her mother to become a concubine for Zhao Jingming. Although the second madam and the third madam did not speak, the gloating in their eyes made Dong's chest hurt. He glared at Ling Chu with a sullen face. "Do you still have a mother like me in your eyes? You can say such treacherous things. Why didn't I drown you in a urine bucket when I gave birth to you?" The smile on Ling Chu's face had long since dissipated, and his eyes were full of ice. "I treat you as my mother, but do you treat me as your daughter? Which mother in the world would know that the other person is not a good match, but still treat her own child? How is it different from marrying your daughter into a concubine and pushing me into a pit of fire? Didn't you keep saying that you don't want to be the concubine? I have fulfilled your wish. What else are you dissatisfied with?" Looking at Dong's righteousness, Ling Chu almost laughed angrily. What dissatisfaction did she have? If this wasn't her own mother, she would almost have wanted to summon a hammer and hit her with it to see what was in her head. She is not willing to be Zhao Jingming's concubine. Does she think she will be happy to be a concubine? Ling Chu no longer had any good impressions of the Dong family. He didn't want to say anything more and just said in a cold voice, "Wherever the sedan chair comes from, go back to it. Otherwise, whoever should be a concubine will get on the sedan chair." Ms. Dong sneered, "It's not up to you. Marriage is a matter of parents' orders and the matchmaker's advice. Today you have to marry whether you want to marry or not." Thinking of the rumors she heard about the Crown Prince of Zhao when she left the palace yesterday, and the cynicism and resentment that Mrs. Zhao Qiagong had towards her, Mrs. Dong became extremely angry. Originally, she planned the marriage in Zhao Qiagong's mansion for Qing but it happened to be ruined by this disaster star. Those dirty frame-up methods she used on the Prince Zhao Qiagong not only harmed Zhao Jingming, she also ruined Qing's future. And her beloved Yao Yao. Thinking of the letter she sent, the crying in it really broke her heart. Since this disaster has harmed her Yao Yao and Qing, don't blame her for giving them to the Prince of Zhao Qiagong. Look at how she will suffer in the hands of Guo and Zhao Jingming in the future. Ling Chu ignored Dong and turned to Ling Zong. "Since marriage is the order of the parents, how dare I ask my father, do you agree to let me be Zhao Jingming's concubine?" This. Ling Zong frowned when his eldest daughter asked him. On one side was his wife and on the other was his daughter. How should he answer? Although he does not want his daughter to be a concubine for others, his wife has already agreed to the Duke of Zhao's palace, and now he is riding a tiger and is unable to get off. Ling Chu had already expected Ling Zong's reaction and was not sad at all. She did not look at her father anymore, but turned to her superiors. "Grandpa, Grandma, do you also agree with me being a concubine for others?" Ling Mao glanced at her and said coldly, "Sister Chu, your mother is confused, don't pay attention. Although our Ling family has lost, my granddaughter, Ling Mao, will not become a concubine for others." Even though Ling Mao and his wife didn't like their eldest granddaughter, they didn't want her to be Zhao Jingming's concubine. After all, if you think about it seriously, Concubines are not serious relatives. If Ling Chu were to be Zhao Jingming's concubine, Zhao Qiagong's mansion would not treat their Ling mansion as an official in-law, let alone give them any help. Ling Chu expected that his grandparents would refuse. As for the reason for the rejection, she also knew it. She was not sad about this, after all, she knew about it early on. Ling Chu turned to the matchmaker and said, "You have heard it, please come back." The matchmaker still didn't move, flicked the handkerchief in her hand, and said to the dowager in a strange way, "The palace has clearly agreed to let the eldest girl be a concubine, but now that the sedan chair is coming, she has gone back on her word. Aren't you afraid that Duke Zhao's palace will be angry?" Mrs. Tai pursed her lips and looked embarrassed. If it were before, she would naturally not be afraid of Duke Zhao's mansion. But based on the current situation of Ling Mansion, if Zhao Qiagong Mansion insists on making things difficult for them, they really won't be able to withstand it. For the first time, Mrs. Dong felt deeply displeased with Mr. Dong. Although she didn't like Ling Chu, she never thought of letting her become someone else's concubine. She really couldn't understand why Dong agreed to make Ling Chu his concubine. It would be fine if she were the imperial concubine, but she is not. Just when the wife was in trouble, a well-dressed woman with a rigid face walked in from outside and said, "Sister-in-law Gao, what time of the day is it? Why haven't you brought the bride out yet? The people outside to greet the bride are all tired of waiting." The matchmaker flicked her veil and said with an apologetic smile, "Aunt Do, it's not that I'm delaying on purpose, it's just that the eldest girl doesn't want to get on the sedan chair. You can't blame me for that." Aunt Do glanced at Ling Chu coldly, then turned her head, and bowed her knees slightly to Ling Mao and Mrs. Do who were standing above her. "You two, it's getting late, I will take the eldest daughter away, our prince I'm still waiting at the house." This Aunt Do is a steward next to Mrs. Zhao Qiagong. Although she is saluting, everyone can see her perfunctory attitude. Mrs. Tai was displeased and said, "Mother Do, please come back. You don't have to say anything about taking my eldest granddaughter away. My daughter-in-law is stupid and did something stupid yesterday. I will definitely take her with me to make amends to Mrs. Zhao Qiagong one day." Mother Do came with a mission today, so naturally she would not be dismissed by Mrs. Tai in a few words. "Madam, when you go out in a sedan chair, there is absolutely no reason to return empty. What's more, Mrs. Dong signed the concubinage document yesterday, and also received 50 acres of fertile land from our Duke Zhao's mansion and 300 taels of bride price. No matter what happens today, I have to take you eldest girl back." Ling Mao and Mrs. Tai frowned. Neither of them expected that Mr. Dong actually signed the concubinage document and the betrothal gift. This was really difficult to handle. Seeing that the two of them were silent, Mother Do turned to Ling Chu expressionlessly and said, "Miss, it's getting late, let's get on the sedan chair." Ling Chu sneered, "Dong sold her 50 acres of fertile land and 300 taels. I still say the same thing, it is absolutely impossible for me to be your prince's concubine. Whoever signs the document and receives the bride price, you will take him away." Dong's face was clouded, but Ling Chu didn't even look at her. Since she doesn't treat her as a daughter, don't blame her for ignoring her face. Asking for votes. Asking for votes. Asking for votes. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I made a fortune by raiding houses in ancient times. Author, Half-Life Calligraphy. Chapter 223. Mother Do had a gloomy face, feeling sorry for her good looks. Outsiders say that this eldest daughter of the Ling family has been raised in a Taoist temple since she was a child. She is extremely vulgar and has never learned any rules or etiquette. It seems that the rumors are indeed true. This kind of person, even if she becomes a concubine for their prince, they are promoting her. Mother Doe ignored Ling Chu's words and shouted outside, "Come in, invite Miss Ling to the sedan chair." As soon as Aunt Doe finished speaking, a dozen fat and rough ladies walked in from outside. And following the women, there were more than a dozen burly boys. Ling Chu sneered. It seemed that Aunt Doe was not stupid. She knew that she was not easy to mess with, so she came prepared. No one spoke or moved in the flower hall. Ms. Dong looked at it coldly. Only Ling Hao stood up with his lips pursed. But before he could speak, Ling Chu had already waved his hand and summoned the small hammer. However, no one takes such a small hammer seriously. Mother Doe waved her hand to those who came in and said, "Elder girl, please get on the sedan chair." As soon as the women and boys moved, the hammers rushed towards Aunt Doe with a swish. The unprepared Aunt Doe was knocked back several steps by the small hammer. If the rough woman behind her hadn't helped her in time, she would have fallen to the ground. Holding the hand of the woman next to her, Grandma Doe stared at the small hammer hanging in front of her with a look of surprise. Had she not seen it with her own eyes, she would never have believed that such a small hammer could have such a powerful impact. Mother Doe looked at Ling Chu with a complicated expression. It seemed that although Miss Ling was vulgar and rude, she really learned some skills from Xianyi in Xianqing Temple. However, it is still a pity. If she did not return to Beijing and continued to stay in the Taoist temple and follow her master, she might actually learn a good Taoist skill. But she just wanted to come back. It's just that he came back, but he didn't know how high the heaven and the earth were, and resorted to various means to ruin the reputation of his family's eldest son. Their family's son was so prosperous, but she, a Taoist nun, used unappreciable medicine to get him and the young man together. This matter not only made the Duke and his wife angry, but also wanted to kill her. Even her servants couldn't help but want to beat her up. Mother Doe felt heartbroken when she thought of the prince hiding in the house and unwilling to go out while she watched him grow up. Ling Chu could see that she was angry, but he didn't care. Glancing at her, Aunt Doe walked quickly behind the servants and then gave the order to the people who brought her, "Please quickly invite Miss Ling to the sedan chair." She was hit by the small hammer just now because she was unprepared. But now, there are nearly 30 women and servants she brought with her, and I don't believe that they can't deal with a broken hammer. Mama Doe was full of confidence and was waiting to see how Miss Ling would be forced into the sedan chair by her people. This flower hall was not big to begin with, but it became even more crowded now. There were so many people that Ling Chu even felt the air was turbid. In order to make a quick decision, she simply summoned the big shovel. Those people brought by Granny Doe did not pay attention to the small hammer at first. Unexpectedly, it rushed left and right in the crowd, rising and falling, and from time to time it hit with a hammer. The big shovel follows behind it, and it scoops up whatever it hits and throws it away. The big one and the small one work together very quickly. In less than half a tea time, all the people brought by Aunt Doe were lying on the ground outside the flower hall, screaming non-stop. These people were hit hard by the hammer, but when the shovel threw them out, they deliberately threw them high and far. This hit the ground. Although it did not break their arms or legs, it was enough to cause them pain for a while. Mother Doe was already stunned by this scene. She brought so many people with her, even if she didn't catch the small hammer, she was still so badly injured by it and the big shovel. Mother Doe saw that all the people she had brought were thrown out, and the weird shovel and sledgehammer were heading towards her. She couldn't help but feel weak in her legs. "Mommy, do you want to go by yourself, or should I let the shovel and hammer take you there?" At this time, Aunt Doe had put away her contempt for Ling Chu and tried her best to remain expressionless. "No need, I have hands and feet, I can walk on my own." Then it's easy for Grandma to leave without seeing her off. Although Ling Chu was polite on the surface, he did not take back the shovel and hammer. Instead, he asked the two of them to follow them and keep watch until no one was left behind and they all left the gate of Ling Mansion, and then they were taken back into the system. Dong watched with a livid face, wanting to curse, but seeing the power of the sledgehammer and shovel just now, she was worried that it would be bad if she was hit with a few hammers. Unexpectedly, this little actually learned some skills after being thrown into a Taoist temple by her. She can't let this little have the chance to harm her Yao Yao again. It's a pity that the servant girls in Zhaoqiavu are really useless, so many people can't her to the sedan chair. Looks like she has to find another way. After driving everyone out of Zhao Qiagong's mansion, Ling Chu took back the shovel and hammer and prepared to return to the yard. She had to think carefully about how to go next. As soon as she walked out of the flower hall, the woman guarding the door hurried over again. Ling Chu glanced at it casually, originally not intending to pay attention, but unexpectedly the woman walked straight towards her tremblingly. Big girl, Aunt Do and the people from Duke Zhao's mansion are crying to the onlookers outside the gate, saying that our Ling mansion accepted the bride price, but regretted not letting you get married. He also said that the wife was so poor that she went crazy, and the mother and daughter teamed up to defraud the bride price. Mother Do also warned that if you don't get on the sedan chair today, the Duke of Zhao's office will go to the government office and sue you and his wife for cheating on your marriage. This nanny spoke in a loud voice, and everyone in the flower hall heard her. Ms. Dong's face was livid. She didn't expect that Aunt Do would make such a big announcement outside the gate. Ling Chu turned around and walked back to Dong in a few steps. Where are the land deeds and bank notes? Ms. Dong looked at her coldly and said, when you get on the sedan chair, I will send someone to the Duke Zhao's mansion to deliver it to you in 3 days. The mother and daughter were in a stalemate, and no one else spoke. Ling Chu looked at her steadily. Since you sold me, you can keep the money from selling me. From now on, we will have nothing to do with each other. Ling Chu finished speaking word by word, turned around and left. Regardless of her dad and elder brother behind her, the eagerness of Mrsta's scolding Dong was even more darkened. Ling Chu walked all the way to the gate, and heard Aunt Do being angry and talking about how she and Dong worked together to defraud the bride and get the bride price. Ling Chu ignored the pointing fingers of Aunt Do and those outsiders. Her eyes fell on the small sedan chair, which was not old and new. He summoned the shovel without saying a word. Mother Do and the people she brought with her were startled, and they subconsciously stepped back. Ling Chu didn't look at them. A wave of the hand. The big shovel flew directly over the sedan chair and slapped at the top of the sedan chair. After a loud noise, the sedan chair turned into a pile of debris. Thanks to the book friend Colorful Life for supporting the monthly pass. Thanks to book friends 202302084311051, this moment, laughing with you, 202309074950021, Ixixi, Scar Red, Even Cats and Mice Don't Play, 2023052174210. Yangliuan, UN1, 202302166877754, 854-729, China Fuse, 2023-030-4836. CA, Xiaoying. Why are you getting older, Sankai? DB, Chiziao, come on elegance, Yi Guzhu 214, 2023-011-8710. CE, Big Xiaomeng, Hamk, Wuxi Yao, Silence is Golden, Chen, Qingshichuang Chuang, 2023-020-4475. B, Zhao Zhao 21, Pros. BA, Qingfeng Gaik. CB, Y, Yu Jiangzi, 20230907495021, XIN Xiang Decorated Orange, Tao Han, Dream Lavender, 20230404232488, Nanaki Ya, Yangliuan and other book friends recommendation votes. Thanks to the book friends who support Hungziu. Thanks to the book friends who support Hungziu. I made a fortune by raiding houses in ancient times. Author, Half-Life Calligraphy. Chapter 224. Those who were watching the excitement were simply shocked when they saw the broken sedan chair. Mother Doe's face was distorted with anger. It was not just the sedan chair that was smashed to pieces, but also the face of Duke Zhao's palace. This is simply intolerable. Mother Doe immediately ordered 10 strong boys to deal with the big shovel. The others all rushed towards Ling Chu in a swarm. Ling Chu didn't move, just looked at them coldly. Hand waved lightly. The big shovel standing upright in the sky immediately became excited. Swipe at the 10 boys who rushed over. Thump, thump. 10 strong young men fell to the ground in the blink of an eye. After putting down the boys, he rushed towards Ling Chu with a swish of the shovel. An emergency stop. Turn around again and make a sweeping sweep. In just a few breaths, those who gathered around him fell to the ground and howled miserably. Those onlookers felt that the excitement today was even more exciting than the opera singers. This was the first time that they saw a bride smashing her own sedan chair and beating the people who came to welcome her into tears. Seeing Ling Chu walking towards her step by step, with the big shovel following beside her, Grandma Doe's legs couldn't help but tremble. You, what do you want to do? Seeing the power of that big shovel with her own eyes, Grandma Doe was unbearably frightened. If she was hit by that big shovel, there would probably be no scraps left. Mother Doe, I heard that your Duke Zhao is going to the government to sue me for cheating on my marriage. Who is your heir apparent? Do you need me to help you publicize it? Being questioned by Ling Chu in public, Grandma Doe had a sullen face and did not dare to say a word. She originally publicized the matter of the Dong mother and daughter's fraudulent marriage. Firstly, she wanted to ruin the reputation of the Ling family, and secondly, she took the opportunity to make the Ling family surrender Ling Chu under the pressure of public opinion. Unexpectedly, she came out, but she was not forced to come out, but came to settle a score with them. The sedan chair was smashed, and in order to save face, she tried to be tough. Who would have thought that she brought so many people with her, but they couldn't resist her big shovel. At this moment, Aunt Doe regretted it. If Ling Chu publicized Zhao Jingming's incident, the Duke's wife would definitely not let her have an easy time when she returned home. You want to sue the officials, and I also want to sue. Although our Ling mansion has been defeated, it does not mean that your Duke Zhao's mansion can bully you at will. The emperor always chooses his maids based on their own preferences, but your Duke Zhao's government actually wants to use your power to force me to be your prince's concubine. Things that even the emperor would not do, your Duke Zhao's office does it unscrupulously. If you don't return the concubinage documents, I will definitely go to the government to sue you. The Duke of Zhao is using his power to oppress our Ling family. Mother Doe stared at Ling Chu, wishing she could eat her alive. You're talking nonsense. It's obviously your mother's consent that makes Duke Zhao want to take you in as our concubine. Mommy is really good at confusing right and wrong. Originally, the Zhao and Ling mansions had agreed on their marriage many years ago, but when your Duke Zhao's mansion saw that our Ling mansion was defeated, you despised me as unworthy of your eldest son and forced my mother to sign the contract. Concubinage document. As soon as Ling Chu said these words, the people who originally thought that the Ling family was cheating on the marriage, all pointed at Aunt Doe and whispered. Mother Doe was furious, but even if she wanted to defend herself, no one would believe her. You, the crown prince of Zhao, want to find another noble wife. Even if you cancel the engagement, I will never complain, but you, the Duke of Zhao, cannot want to be and also build a memorial arch. You want to take away my position as the crown prince and force me to be your crown prince's concubine. This is simply too much of a deception. Everyone sympathizes with the weak, and those watching the excitement did not doubt Ling Chu's words. Mother Doe was so angry that she almost vomited blood. Ling Chu, however, acted as if he couldn't see it, and directly threatened, "Go back and tell your wife, Madame Doe, if you don't want your prince's secret to be known to everyone, send me the concubinage documents within today." Mom's words, "You're dreaming," almost reached her throat, and she swallowed them back alive. She was afraid that if she said this, Ling Chu would really tell the truth about the person that their prince was supporting. The duke's wife is trying to find a way to hire the Wenan County lord as her daughter-in-law. She cannot let Ling Chu ruin the reputation of the prince at this time. Mother Do could not force Ling Chu to get into the sedan chair, so she could only endure her anger and sneak away with the welcoming team. Ling Kilian and the others left, and then took the shovel back. Although she threatened Zhao Jingming about keeping that man, she was not very sure that Mrs. Zhao Qiagong would give up taking her as a concubine. "I'm afraid we have to find another way to solve this matter." However, the first priority was to buy a house and separate her household registration. She has to break away from the Ling family, otherwise even if she solves the problem in Zhao Qiagong's house, there is no guarantee that she will not be betrayed by the Dong family again in the future. In fact, not only Dong, but also her grandparents also wanted to use her marriage to seek benefits. She doesn't want to face this kind of thing every 3 days in the future. Ling Chu simply didn't return home and asked Xiaji to drive the carriage out and went straight to Yaxing. "Hey, isn't this Miss Ling?" Hearing the noise, Manager Yaxing raised his head with a surprised expression. Ling Chu nodded with a smile. Manager Chen has a good memory. After saying hello, she subconsciously glanced at the man sitting next to her. His eyes swept over the other party's darkened yintang and the top of his head that was entangled with resentment. I didn't know who this person was, so Ling Chu didn't speak rashly. If it was another buyer, Manager Chen might not remember it, but he was still very impressed with Ling Chu. After all, it was she who bought the haunted house that fell into his hands. Thinking of the haunted house, Manager Chen's expression changed. "Miss Ling, is your house okay?" Ling Chu could tell at a glance what Manager Chen was worried about. "Don't worry, Manager Chen, I'm not here to vacate the house." Manager Chen breathed a sigh of relief. He was really afraid that the house would be returned again. Since she didn't come to him to vacate the house, then Miss Ling came to Yaxing. "I came to see if there is a suitable house." Manager Chen was a little surprised. He still remembered that Ling Chu wanted to buy that ghost house because he didn't have much money. Unexpectedly, "It has only been so long before I have enough money to buy a second set." When business came to the door, Manager Chen suddenly became more enthusiastic than before. He called Ling Chu to sit down and asked the maid to bring her tea and snacks before saying, "I wonder what kind of house Miss Ling wants this time. The location is good, quiet, there are not many messy houses around, and the house can be smaller. Do you still want the house in Dongcheng, girl? I would like to go to Zikan, but I'm afraid it won't be available. Most of the people in the West City are rich and noble, but Ling Chu didn't go there for that. She just wanted to stay away from everyone in the Ling mansion to avoid getting entangled. Households in Zikan are indeed in demand. There are currently no houses for sale, but there are some for rent. Ling Chu doesn't want to rent. She wants to set up her own household and must have her own house. If it is not available in West City, then you can only buy it in East City." As soon as Manager Chen finished speaking, the man next to him who had been listening quietly suddenly said, "What a coincidence, my house is about to be sold. Do you want to go take a look, girl?" Manager Chen was surprised. "Ah, Ma Zongke, isn't your house only for rent but not for sale? Where are the votes? I made a fortune by raiding houses in ancient times." Author, Half-Life Calligraphy. Chapter 225. Chapter 225. The Female Puppet Under the Chrysanthemum. Na Ma Zhong glanced at Ling Chu, smiled at Manager Chen, and explained, "Manager Chen, you also know that my bun shop doesn't have much business. What's more, living in Kyoto is not easy. I thought that instead of staying in the capital, it would be better to go back to my hometown to live." Speaking of this, Ma Zongke looked lonely. "I am the only one left in the capital. I still have some relatives in my hometown. I can still take care of my clan members when I go back. It is better than staying here alone. Manager Chen nodded, that's true. So I wanted to sell the house, but I was originally worried that it wouldn't be easy to sell, so I thought of renting it out first, but I saw this girl happen to want to buy a house, so. Ma Zongke is about to sell the house, and Manager Chen is also happy to see it happen. If the deal is completed, he will also get a commission. Guanxi Chen helped introduce Ling Chu. This Ma Zhong is the owner of Ma Ji Baizai shop. The house he wants to sell is in Zikan and was passed down from his ancestors. The ancestors of the Ma family once produced officials, but they gradually declined. The Ma family is not prosperous. Ma Zongke's parents are no longer there. Now there is no one at home, and the business of the bun shop is getting worse and worse, so he wants to sell the house and go back to his hometown to live. Ma Zongke's house is in Zikan. Although it is not big, it has 3 entrances, which can be regarded as meeting Ling Chu's requirements. However, Ling Chu's eyes once again swept across the other party's yintang and top of his head. Only when Ma Zhong noticed this gaze, his heart tightened. Hurry up and put on an honest smile. Manager Chen said, Miss Ling, would you like to see the Ma family's house? If you are not satisfied after seeing it, you can also choose the house in Dongcheng. Miss Ling, although my house is old, the best materials were used when it was first built, and there are still no problems with the house today. And whether it is the front yard or the backyard, there are wells, so there is no need to worry about water problems. Ling Chu looked away and nodded, then go and have a look. It's hard to buy a house in Zikan. Now that she came across one, she really wanted to take a look. The group of people took 2 carriages and went straight to Ma Zongke's house. As soon as he got off the carriage, Ling Chu saw that the house in front of him was indeed quite old, but there was nothing wrong with it outside. Ma Zhong took out a bunch of keys and opened the door. What surprised Ling Chu slightly was that when she entered the yard, she saw some clothes hanging to dry in the yard. She remembered that Ma Zongke had said in Yaxing that he was the only one left in the family. Seeing her looking at the clothes in the courtyard, Ma Zhong smiled honestly, since my wife left, I didn't want to live in the main house to avoid seeing things and missing people, so I moved to the front yard. Ling Chu nodded to express his understanding. Manager Chen laughed, it's not bad to live in the front yard. It's not far from the street and it's more lively. Ma Zongke is the only one left at home. Living in such a big house alone, he must be lonely. I must have thought that by living in the front yard, I could still hear the excitement on the street. After looking inside, Ling Chu followed Ma Zongke and walked in from the Chihuahua gate. Although the appearance of the house is not bad, it may lack of popularity inside and looks a bit dilapidated and depressed. The doors and windows in the second courtyard were closed, and there were a lot of spider webs on them. It can be seen that no one has lived there for a long time. However, the strange thing is that there are many chrysanthemums planted in the courtyard. Although they are not a precious variety, those chrysanthemums bloom extremely well and are colorful. But it looks as good as chrysanthemums, and there are weeds mixed in. Ling Chu found that the soil under the flowers and plants was very dry. It can be seen that it has not been watered for a long time. No one lives in this inner courtyard, and no one takes care of the chrysanthemums and weeds. But instead of dying, they actually grew so vigorously. Looking a little strange. Ma Zhong felt tense when he saw Ling Chu staring at the chrysanthemums. He quickly raised a smile and explained, although my wife was not an elegant person during her lifetime, she loved flowers and plants. She planted all these in the yard before. As if he was afraid that Ling Chu would ask further questions, Ma Zhong just explained a few words and then changed the subject. Miss Ling, why don't we go into the house and take a look? Good. Ling Chu looked away from the chrysanthemums and found that Ma Zongke's yintang was darker than when he saw it in Yaxing before. Moreover, The black mist wrapped in resentment and evil spirits above his head was thicker than before. Ma Zongke smiled, walked far away from the chrysanthemums, took out the keys, and opened all the rooms in the second courtyard. Ling Chu looked at each room. The big furniture is all there in the house, but it's just covered with dust. There are many spider webs hanging on the doors and windows, with small flying insects stuck to them. This house is old, and the light inside is not good, which even gives people a gloomy feeling. The second entrance to the hospital looks better, but the third entrance to the hospital is even more dilapidated. The doors and windows in two places were broken. However, there is also a piece of chrysanthemum planted in these three courtyards. Even more than those of the second generation, and the growth is better. It's just that these chrysanthemums are the same as those in Urjin. They are overgrown with weeds and the soil underneath is dry and cracked. These chrysanthemums are so beautiful. If they were placed in another place, they would certainly look pleasing to the eye. However, in this dilapidated yard, it seems a little out of place. Seeing that my girl always stares at the chrysanthemums, Xiaoji and Lu Xiangju also looked over. Lu Xiangju couldn't help but praise, "Girl, this chrysanthemum looks so beautiful." Xiaoji also liked it. "Uncle Ma, can we pick some chrysanthemums and bring them back? They will definitely look good when placed in the house." Ma Zongke nodded and smiled naively, "Okay, if you like it, you can pick it as you like. If you want to dig some and plant them in flower pots and put them in the house, that's fine too." The two maids were overjoyed and said, "Really, thank you very much, Uncle Ma." When Manager Chen heard this, he also smiled at Ma Zongke and said, "It's really a waste to keep these flowers in the hands of a big boss like you. Anyway, there are a lot of flowers, and my daughter also likes them. I will dig some back for her to avoid paying them back. You need to spend money to buy it outside." Ma Zongke's smile deepened, "Okay, okay, okay, you can dig whatever you want, dig whatever you want." Ma Zongke has a good attitude and a simple and honest smile. However, Ling Chu discovered that there was an indescribable weirdness in his honesty. Furthermore, she also found that whether it was in the second courtyard or here, Ma Zongke was always far away from those chrysanthemums. At this moment, the resentment and evil spirits above his head were wrapping around him even more tightly, as if they wanted to wrap him around until he died. Manager Chen approached the patch of chrysanthemums and found it among the weeds. "Pick it up and get ready to dig." And Xiaoji and Lu Xiangju were discussing which one to dig was more beautiful. Ling Chu frowned. For some reason, she always felt that there was something wrong with these flowers. From the corner of his eye, he saw the smile on Ma Zongke's face getting weirder and weirder. Ling Chu raised his hand to make a seal, and touched it across his eyes. The scenery in front of me changed. Ling Chu saw that under the chrysanthemum, the soil was turned up, and a female figure crawled out from it. Thanks to 0230820185508049. Supported by monthly votes from book friends such as 201902080054187769 and Yulugo Hong Chen. Thanks to Ixixi, Joy792, 2023-032-1629. CE 2023-032-1629. CE, Zeng, Zhou Rong, Come On Elegance, Music, Mao Hungmei, 63,245, Chen, Not Think of Ming, UN 1, 2023-020-4475. B. A. Purple Leaves? Ad, Yanglia Bank, neither cat nor mouse can play, Shui Ling, Momentary Negligence, Pen Yongfang, 20230404232488, 854-729, Prose. BA, 20230208431051, Yimen Jingtu, Unbridled Love, Mentioning the Future, Big Xiaomeng, 2023-032-1629. CE, Ixixi, Neon Thinking, The Wind of the Blue Planet, Maple Bridge Night Mooring 0507. MG Gauze Makeup Cast, Why Does It Age? Jade Falls into the Red Dust, 202303061958333531. 20230830525284, Colorful Life, 641,417, asterisk carat. Carat O carat asterisk. 20230601621658, Wunana, 20230907495021 and other book friends recommended and voted for support. Thanks to Hungzio and Xiaoxiang for supporting book friends. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I made a fortune by raiding houses in ancient times. Author, Half-Life Calligraphy. Chapter 226. Even though Ling Chu was a little surprised when she saw a ghost crawling out from under the chrysanthemum, she was actually not afraid. After all, it's not like she has never seen puppets before. But she didn't expect that the female puppet was intact except for her head, and there was nothing under her neck except a set of bones. There is no meat on the body. After the female figure climbed out, she staggered and walked towards the horse standing far away. Under the chrysanthemum, there is another hand stretching out from the soil. Like the female ghost in front, this hand has only bones and no flesh. The head is complete and the body is all bones. The third puppet crawled out from under the chrysanthemum, and then there was no movement. The people present, except Ling Chu, did not have yin and yang eyes, so naturally they did not notice the three ghosts. Steward Chen is wielding a to dig up chrysanthemums. I just didn't expect that as soon as I put the down, the wood break. They may have rotted away from the wind, sun, and rain in the courtyard for a long time. Manager Chen threw away the and turned around to ask Ma Zongke, do you have any other at home? Ma Zongke still had a silly smile on his face and pointed to the room on the far right side of the back room, there is it in that room, go and get it yourself. Although Manager Chen was a little surprised that Ma Zongke was standing so far away and asked him to go to the house to get a hoe, he didn't think much about it. Xiaoji and Lu Xiangji planned to pick some flowers first and wait for Manager Chen to bring them before digging. These three people were only looking at the flowers and almost forgot the purpose of coming here. However, Ma Zongke was not annoyed and just looked at them and smiled. Just when the two girls were about to pick flowers, Ling Chu hurriedly said, stop picking them, those flowers are not good. The two of them turned around and looked at Ling Chu with puzzled eyes. Although I don't know why Ling Chu didn't let them pick it, they all took back their hands. Manager Chen, who was returning with a hoe, was surprised, the flowers are growing quite well, but there are too many weeds. Ling Chu ignored Manager Chen and asked Ma Zongke, what kind of flowers do you use to grow these flowers? Ma Zongke's smile froze slightly, and soon returned to his honest smile, these flowers were planted by my wife before she was alive. I don't know exactly, but she probably put some farmyard manure and watered them, etc. Nothing special. Girl, don't you want to buy a house? My house is pretty good. If you buy this house, all these flowers will be yours. In the future, you can also use these chrysanthemums to make tea, or make chrysanthemum stuffing, chrysanthemum cakes, chrysanthemum crabs, etc. I heard that these are the things that noble people like to eat, so girls might as well try it. Ma Zongke still has that honest smile on his face, but if you look closely, it becomes even weirder. Ling Chu's eyes stopped looking at him, but fell on the three female puppets beside him. The female figure who crawled out from under the chrysanthemum first took out a kitchen knife from somewhere and was squatting aside, sharpening it. The other one, holding a thick and long rope in his hand, was walking stiffly towards the horse step by step. The last one is scooping out gourds of flour from the bag and pouring it into the large wooden basin nearby. Looking at this situation, is he preparing to leave the dough and make steamed buns? Ling Chu's eyes grew colder little by little, and finally he glanced at Ma Zongke, who had a simple and weird smile. Turning to Xiaoji, he said, "Go to Dali Temple and report to the official that a murder was discovered here." As soon as these words came out, the honest smile on Ma Zongke's face cracked. But it soon returned to normal. "Hey, what are you talking about? Are you here to buy a house, or are you here to cause trouble?" Xiaoji was stunned for a moment, turned around and walked out. Although she didn't see anything wrong, she knew her girl's ability, so she must have noticed something unusual. Seeing that Xiaoji was about to leave, Ma Zhong's heart skipped a beat and he took a few steps to block him. "Do you want to buy the house or not? If you don't buy it, leave immediately." Manager Chen stood aside with a hoe, confused. "Aren't they here to buy a house? What's the fuss about? It would be impossible to leave. It would be fine if she didn't encounter this. But since she encountered it, she can't pretend she didn't see it." Ling Chu saw that Xiaoji was being blocked, and immediately summoned a small hammer and pointed it directly at Ma Zongke. "Get out of the way, otherwise don't blame me for taking action." Hands on to buy a house, why are they suddenly starting a fight? Manager Chen didn't bother digging any more chrysanthemums. He threw away the and rushed over to break up the fight. Ma Zongke's honest expression no longer existed, and he said with a cold face, "Since you are not here to buy a house, then leave quickly." Ma Zongke didn't know if this girl Ling had discovered any clues, but he was always cautious and didn't want to take risks. Grabbed the big broom on the side and started to drive people away with a sullen face. "My house is not for sale anymore, you should leave as soon as possible." Ling Chu saw that this man looked simple and honest, but in fact he was not a good person. She didn't want to get into any more entanglements, so she just hit him with a hammer. The horse fell to the ground in response. Xiaoji immediately turned around and ran out. Ma Zongke saw Xiaoji leaving to report to the official. He ignored the pain in his body and got up with a sullen face. "Manager Chen, my house is not for sale. You can leave." Manager Chen's face was not good. With such a commotion, he knew that today's business would be impossible. After a few words of apology to Ma Zhong, he was ready to take Ling Chu away. Ling Chu didn't move. Ma Zongke's face became even more gloomy. "Why, if you don't leave, could it be that you have taken a fancy to my house and want to occupy it by force?" "Tisk, it's just a run-down house, what's there to occupy?" Hearing this familiar voice, Ling Chu turned around in surprise. At a glance, he saw the dusty Ning Chui walking over quickly. Behind him, Wei Feng followed. The disdainful words just now were made by him. Xiaoji was trotting behind the two of them. And behind her, there were more than a dozen Jinyi guards. Ling Chu couldn't help her for it, so she asked Xiaoji to go to Dali Temple to report to the official. Why did she find the Jinyi Wei people? Seeing Ling Chu's surprised look, Xiaoji hurriedly explained, "Girl, I just ran into Mr. Ning when I went out. She did not invite these people, she is not that capable yet." She hurried out of the house and was about to drive to Dali Temple to report to the official, but unexpectedly she ran into Mr. Ning. Ning Chui glanced at the two people in the courtyard, lowered her eyes and asked Ling Chu, "Why do you suddenly want to buy a house?" Hearing what Ning Chui said, Xiaoji felt a little uneasy. Just now, she hurriedly left the house to report to the official. Master Ning stopped her and asked her what happened. She didn't dare to hide it. Ling Chu was surprised. She thought Master Ning would ask her what the murder was. "Nothing, I want to set up a female household." Ning Chui frowned and subconsciously asked what happened. Just as the words came to his lips, he saw the two people trembling next to him from the corner of his eye and swallowed them again. "I heard you discovered the murder case." Ling Chu nodded and pointed at the chrysanthemum next to him. There are several corpses buried there. Votes. I made a fortune by raiding houses in ancient times. Author, Half-Life Calligraphy. Chapter 227. Chapter 227. What are those buns? When Ma Zongke saw those Jinyi guards, his legs were weak with fright. When he heard Ling Chu's words, he was even more frightened and his face was ashen. Steward Chen looked at Ling Chu and then at the colorful chrysanthemums with an expression of surprise and uncertainty. There are corpses buried under those chrysanthemums. At first, Guanxi Chen thought the flowers were growing well and blooming beautifully, but now he felt something was wrong. The weeds are as lush as chrysanthemums, and you can tell at a glance that Ma Zongke has not taken care of them. Moreover, the soil under the flower is dry and cracked, which shows that it may not have been watered for a long time. Normally these flowers and plants should be dead. But it's really weird that he looks so good. Ning Chui looked in the direction of Ling Chu's finger. When he came in, he saw those overgrown flowers, but he didn't pay much attention to them before. After looking around, I didn't see any big problems on the surface. But he knew that Ling Chu could see things that others couldn't. Wei Fen looked admiringly. Miss Ling, you can calculate everything under the ground, you are really amazing. It's such a waste of your ability to use it to set up stalls and tell fortunes. You should come to our Jinyi Wei to help us investigate the case. Ling Chu's mouth twitched when he heard this. If she were a man, she could take the imperial examination and become an official. It would be possible to become a royal guard in the future. But as a girl, if she goes to the Jinyi Wei to tell people what to do, the world will definitely accuse her of being stupid, and she will be drowned in the spit of the censors. Ning Chui frowned. Although he felt sorry for Ling Chu's abilities, he had never thought of letting her enter the Jinyi Guard. Although Jinyi Wei looks good on the surface, she actually has to face many and cruel things, which her frail body cannot bear. Even though Ma Zongke was extremely scared, he still bit the bullet and knelt down towards Ling Chu with a plop. Girl, those flowers were planted by my wife, there are no corpses. I'm a rough guy who can't speak. I was so offended just now, so I asked you to give me more. Don't argue with me, an old man. This house of mine was passed down from my ancestors. I want to keep it for my memory and not to sell it for takeout. It's hot, I can't help but let the girl go all the way in vain. This ingot of silver, girl, take it to drink tea. Ma Zongke smiled honestly and took out a silver coin from his pocket and handed it to Ling Chu. Ling Chu didn't answer. Even Ning Chui and the others noticed that this man's words had an overpowering flavor. Go and dig up those flowers, Ning Chui directly ordered the Jinyi Wei behind him. Ma Zongke's legs went weak and he almost fainted on the spot. He wanted to step forward to stop him, but when he saw those wolf-like and tiger-like imperial guards and the sabers on their bodies, he did not dare to act rashly. More than a dozen Jinyi guards took action at the same time. With only half a cup of tea, 3 corpses were dug out. These 3 corpses were just like what Ling Chu saw. Except for the heads, there were only bones from the neck down. Seeing such a corpse, even the well-informed Jinyi Wei felt a chill on their bodies. Steward Chen was even more frightened and stepped back repeatedly. Fortunately, Miss Ling stopped him from digging up those chrysanthemums. If he had dug up these bones himself, he would probably have nightmares every night in the future. The bones were exhumed, and the minister of Dali Temple and his people arrived just in time. It turned out that Ning Chui met Xiaji on the street and heard that she was going to report to the Dali Temple, so she directly asked her subordinates to go on her behalf. Upon inspection, we found that the 3 corpses had been hacked to death with knives. Before the Dali Temple minister opened his mouth to interrogate, Ma Zongke was already frightened and knelt down. Sir, I didn't kill these people. Don't arrest me. I don't know anything. Ling Chu knew that Ma Zongke would not confess his crime easily. He directly took out the cow's tears exchanged by the system and flicked them into his eyes. Ma Zongke, who was kowtowing desperately for mercy, didn't even notice the coolness in his eyes. When he kowtowed his head again and raised his head again, the scene in front of him suddenly changed. Only then did Ma Zhong see three familiar skeletons standing in front of him. In fright, he blurted out a scream, "There is a ghost!" Hunted, he turned around and ran away, but the three skeletons pursued him relentlessly. Even though he ran very fast, he couldn't escape the pursuit of the three skeletons. After catching Ma Zongke, the round-faced female ghost said nothing and wrapped him around with the thick rope in her hand. Another female puppet, waving an extremely sharp kitchen knife, said grimly, "Ma Zongke, we died so miserably, God is wise, and finally gave me a chance to take revenge. Didn't you use a kitchen knife to cut off all the flesh on our bodies? Today, I want to let you taste the feeling of being cut with a kitchen knife." Ma Zongke looked at the sharp kitchen knife and trembled. A stream of heat spurted out from his lower body. But he didn't care about the embarrassment that he thought he was scared to death, and begged for mercy incoherently, "Don't kill me, please, don't kill me. It was my fault, I shouldn't kill you. Just let me go, and I will do it in the next life. I'll repay you like a cow." The female ghost, who was making dough and smiling strangely, said to Ma Zongke, "Don't be afraid, just be patient and you'll be fine. I'll cut off the flesh on your body, Jaja." Even though he had already guessed what Ma Zongke did to the three female puppets, Ling Chu couldn't help but feel his stomach churn when he heard those words. Although Ma Zongke deserves to die, he cannot die at the hands of those puppet souls. Seeing that the female puppet holding the knife was about to take action, Ling Chu endured the churning of his stomach and put them away. Ma Zhong breathed a sigh of relief and immediately collapsed to the ground. Although the minister of Dali Temple could not see the three puppet souls, he had already heard Ma Zongke's begging for mercy just now. Obviously, those three corpses were killed by him. The minister of Dali Temple waved to the people around him, "Take him away and bring him back for questioning." Ma Zongke's expression changed. Even though he was scared, he could only defend himself, "Sir, I didn't kill anyone. You can't arrest me." Ling Chu sneered, "You still want to quibble? Do you think no one knows that you killed those three girls and cut off all the flesh from their bodies? If you say you were not the one who killed them, do you want to let those three puppets just now come out and confront you?" As soon as Ling Chu finished speaking, Ma Zongke stared at him as if he had seen a ghost. He just discovered that it seemed that only he could see the three puppet souls, and no one else could. He thought that as long as he did not admit it, no one would know about it. "I didn't expect that this girl could actually see the three puppet souls. That means he can't hide what he did." Ma Zongke's intestines are almost green. Why can't he help but have such evil thoughts when he saw this girl's delicate skin and tender flesh in the dental shop? Ma Zongke is filled with regret and despair. Manager Chen was not much better. "Ma Zongke, you really made those buns, vomit." Before he finished speaking, Quan Zhengchen couldn't help but vomited when he thought of the buns he had bought from Ma Zongke. Thanks to book friends Yologo Hong Chen, 201902080054187769, 202308201855088049, South Pacific, 1234562256 for their monthly ticket support. Thanks to Wu Nanma, Panax Noto Ginseng. DB, Qing Lang, 201703181914308335, neither cat nor mouse can play, 2023-032-1629. CE, Chen, for writing about the future. UN 1, 202110221207411050, China Fuzi, Fei Fi, Exquisite Heart. AE, 854-729, Kingsha Makeup, Pros. BA, Du and Wantung's mother, CHLWCH, Penyong Fang, Chi Ziao, the heartbeat on the left, Nan Xiangxi, 202303061958333531, 20230601621658, Crystal at Diamond, 1402121840214228, Wu Nanma, Noto Ginseng. DB, Ixixi, U479, 20230907495021 and other book friends recommendation votes. Thanks to Xiaoxiang's book friends for their support. Thanks to Hungzia for supporting book friends. I made a fortune by raiding houses in ancient times. Author, Half-Life Calligraphy. Chapter 228. Chapter 228 Buying a House. Faced with Manager Chen's question, although Ma Zongke did not respond, his eyes evaded, which showed a guilty conscience. Manager Chen's heart dropped. I just wanted to kill Ma Zongke. Even Ning Chui and the minister of Dali Temple changed their expressions when they heard about human flesh buns. Seeing the three skeletons, everyone speculated on the reason why Ma Zongke killed them, but no one thought that he actually wanted to make human meat buns. Although the ancestor of Ma Zongke's family had a minor official, he was not wealthy. When it passed to his hands, the only remaining family property was this house. After Ma Zongke married his wife, the couple rented a shop to sell steamed buns. The person in charge of making steamed buns is his wife, and the business used to be pretty good. But since his wife fell ill and passed away, the buns made by Ma Zongke tasted bad and the business got worse. The already poor days have become even worse. They can hardly even afford meat for making steamed buns. Ma Zongke actually set his sights on those wandering orphan girls. Using steamed buns as a temptation, he lured them to their homes and killed them, then cut off their flesh and minced them to make steamed buns. Other bits and pieces, as well as blood, bones, etc., were all buried under the chrysanthemums. It's just that Ma Zongke is not good at cooking, so the buns he makes are not delicious. His method is of little use, and not many people buy his buns. Fortunately, the buns he made were not delicious, so he did not kill more people. Ma Zongke didn't dare to complain, for fear that those puppet souls would also kill him and make him a dumpling. But he did not admit his crime, he just remained silent. The minister of Dali Temple planned to take him back for further interrogation. Ling Chu stopped him. Sir, there is a patch of chrysanthemums in the second yard. It's best to dig them up and take a look. The expression of the minister of Dali Temple changed, and he immediately ordered the officials he brought to dig. After a cup of tea, 2 skeletons were dug out from the flowers in the second courtyard. Ma Zongke collapsed on the ground in despair, knowing that he was finished. After killing so many people, he will definitely die. No one present sympathized with him. If he said that he killed those people because he had hatred towards them, everyone would still understand. But his behavior is obviously a twisted and psychopathic behavior. Steward Chen just took one look at the skeletons and vomited. The guards in uniform couldn't help but sympathize with him. I think Manager Chen would never touch a meat bun again in his life. The minister of Dali Temple had Ma Zongke escorted back to Dali Temple, and the bones were also carried away. Ma Zongke killed so many people, his house will definitely be sealed by the government. Although it was a pity that the house was not purchased, Ling Chu avenged those girls who died tragically and reaped their merits, so this trip was not in vain. Ling Chu was about to leave with the maid, but Ning Chui stopped her. You want to buy a house and set up a household? Are you planning to move away from everyone in the Ling mansion? Yes, Ling Chu didn't hide it, but he didn't elaborate on the reason either. Ning Chui was not in Kyoto during this period, so she didn't know what happened to her. I wanted to ask, but I felt it was a bit abrupt given the relationship between the two of them. There is a 4-door courtyard on Kintai Street, which is the private property of a friend of mine. He originally asked me to help him sell it. Since you happen to want to buy a house, you can go and have a look. If it is suitable, you might as well buy it. The house was surrounded by official houses, and it was quiet there. Although it's a bit more expensive, if you live there as a girl, you don't have to worry about safety. Ling Chu remembered that Kintai Street was also in Zikan, but said, as far as I know, houses in Zikan are very popular. It shouldn't be difficult to sell your friend's house. The house in Saijan is also in Zikan, so the price must not be cheap. I don't have much money in hand, and it's enough to buy a small courtyard with 2 rooms. However, thank you for your kindness. Houses in Zikan are indeed in demand, but my friend's house did not ask a dental shop to help him deal with it, therefore, outsiders did not know that his house was for sale. The house is quite old, but it is still well maintained. If my friend hadn't been an official in another place and needed money urgently, he wouldn't have planned to sell it. The price is not expensive, only 1,200 taels. I have visited the house and the price is quite reasonable. It would be a pity if you missed it. The house on the 4th floor of Zikan only costs 1,200 taels, which is a great deal. Ling Chu was inevitably moved. Ning Chui lowered his eyes and glanced, and secretly breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. If you are short of money, I can lend you the money first. Later, when you make money, I will pay you back slowly. Ling Chu shook his head. That's not necessary. I still have a piece of jade in my hand. I can sell it for silver. Okay, I have something to go to the palace, so let Wei Feng take you to see the house. If you are satisfied, let Wei Feng help you go to the Yamen to transfer the property. As for the matter of setting up a household, let him handle it as well. If he comes forward, the people at the Yamen will not be in trouble. Ling Chu was overjoyed when she heard this. She was having a headache about setting up a household. Ning Chui was willing to let Wei Feng help her, which she really wanted. Happy, he even gave Ning Chui a rainbow fart. Ning Chui raised her lips, gave Wei Feng a few instructions, and left with the others. Wei Feng silently glanced at his retreating figure and couldn't help but complain in his heart. The adults really spared no effort to help Miss Ling. He sold all his private property at a low price. He was afraid that Miss Ling would be embarrassed to accept his help, so he pretended that the house belonged to his friend. If he hadn't known that the Lord was doing it for the Emperor's sake and had helped him many times, he would have almost thought that Ning Chui had fallen in love with Miss Ling. Ling Chu didn't know Wei Feng's slander, so he followed Wei Feng to Kintai Street in a carriage. Ling Chu originally thought that the house in Saijan would only sell for 1,200 taels, and that it would be relatively dilapidated inside. Unexpectedly, the actual situation was exactly the opposite. Wei Feng, did you remember the price incorrectly? This house shouldn't be 12,000 taels, right? Wei Feng had long known that she would be suspicious, so he quickly came up with the excuse he had already thought of. It is indeed 1,200 taels, we adults did not remember it wrong. The reason why it was sold so cheaply is because this house was originally the foreign residence of your friend, and his family did not know the existence of this house. His wife died of illness the year before last. He didn't want to keep the house to see and miss people, so he thought of selling it. Although Wei Shi died, she was very favored during her lifetime, and the plum trees in the yard were planted specifically for her. Your friend's only request is that the plum tree cannot be cut down. Ling Chu was speechless after hearing this. The outer room was dead and he wanted to sell the house, but he insisted that the plum tree must be kept. It's just a few trees, so there's nothing wrong with keeping them. Wei Feng secretly wiped his sweat after hearing her decision to buy the house. Fortunately, he was smart and made up such an excuse, so that he didn't ruin the Lord's business. Amazed face, oh, carrot. Carrot, please vote for me. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I made a fortune by raiding houses in ancient times. Author, Half-Life Calligraphy. Chapter 229. Ling Chu decided to buy the house, and Wei Feng immediately took over the transfer. He didn't even wait for Ling Chu to give him the banknote before he hurried to the yamen to handle the transfer of ownership. Ling Chu saw him in such a hurry and guessed that he might want to finish his work quickly and rush back to work at the Jinyi Guard. She didn't waste much time on Wei Feng. After leaving the house, she immediately asked Xiaoji to take her to Yang Fuxiang's silver house and sell the piece of jade she exchanged from Hanyao last time to Yang Fuxiang's boss, Zhao Xingxiang. Ling Chu didn't waste any time after exchanging the banknotes. She happened to pass by Wu Fangzai on her way back, so she got out of the car and bought 2 boxes of snacks. She was able to buy a 4-bedroom house in Zikan at such a low price, thanks to Ning Chui. You should always thank him for accepting such a huge favor from him. Back at the house, Wei Feng immediately handed over the things in his hands. Miss Ling, everything is done. Here are the house deeds and household registration documents. Remember to keep them. There are people in the court who are easy to get things done. If Ling Chu had done these 2 things, he would never have done them so smoothly and quickly. After thanking him, Ling Chu took the things and gave the banknotes he had prepared to Wei Feng, asking him to ask Ning Chuyi to give them to his friend. Give the 2 boxes of snacks you bought, one to Wei Feng, and ask him to help bring the other to Ning Chuyi. After accepting such a great favor, Ling Chu felt that only giving 2 boxes of snacks was too light a gift. Finally, 2 peace charms were given as gifts, one for each of Ning Chui and Wei Feng. Wei Feng didn't refuse, he took all the orders with a smile. After handing the key to the house to Ling Chu, Wei Feng immediately left with his things. He completed all the tasks assigned to him by Ning Chui, and Miss Ling also gave him a thank you gift. After returning home, the adults might reward you if they are happy. Looking at the house deed and household registration in his hand, Ling Chu was in a good mood. This house is well maintained. It only needs to be cleaned and some daily necessities are added before you can move in. He left Xiaoji behind, gave her some bank notes, and told her to buy daily necessities, and then go back to pick her up tomorrow. There were still some things in the Ling mansion, so Ling Chu took Lu Xiangji back to pack them. What? You have established a female household and you want to move out? In the flower hall, after hearing Ling Chu's words, the dowager's face suddenly turned cold. Mr. Dong immediately tightened the handkerchief in her hand. How dare this little bastard? If she leaves, what will happen to Duke Zhao's mansion? Sister Chu, don't be ridiculous. Not to mention your parents, your grandfather and I are still alive. As a young girl, if you leave your parents and family and move out, have you ever thought about what outsiders will say about you? Grandma, what outsiders think about it is other people's business. I grew up in Suankigwan since I was a child. Even if I stay in the house, my reputation will not be as good as that of those rich and noble ladies. Nonsense, you stay in the house and I'll ask your mother to bring you a nanny once you learn the rules and etiquette. I'll see who dares to talk about you. Grandma, over there at Zhao Qiagong's mansion. Mrs. Tai didn't wait for Ling Chu to finish, and interrupted her again. You smashed the sedan chair, so why are you worried? Your grandfather and I will not agree to you becoming a concubine. Even though Mrs. Tai strongly opposed it, Ling Chu was not moved at all. She knew that her grandmother objected to her moving away, but she did not want her to be out of control and wanted to use her marriage to benefit the Ling family. The Zhao Qiagong's mansion has not sent the concubinage documents at all, which means they will not give up. Grandma, our Ling mansion cannot withstand the Zhao Qiagong's methods now. If I move away, they will not embarrass you. Mrs. Tai furrowed her brows tightly. Although she didn't want to admit it, the Ling mansion really couldn't withstand the storm. But she knew that her husband had gone out quietly, although he did not say what he was going to do. But after being married for many years, she knew that he must have gone to his former in-laws and old colleagues for the purpose of getting married to his eldest granddaughter. Mrs. Tai didn't say anything more, but she secretly winked at Mrs. Dong. Sister Chu, I know you have annoyed mother. But mother has no choice but to do so. The Duke of Zhao's mansion is threatening your grandfather, father, and your eldest brother. If I don't agree to marry you to the Prince of Duke Zhao as a concubine, they will threaten Ling. The government takes action. Mother was afraid that something would happen to them, so she had no choice but to agree. It's because mother is incompetent and has wronged you. Ling Chu didn't speak, and just looked at Mr. Dong quietly. Mr. Dong looked guilty and helpless at the same time, and even had red eyes and a look of pain on his face. Perhaps she is not the original person and has no feelings about Dong's words. Sister Chu, mother knows that she was wrong. Since you don't want to go to Zhao Qiagong's mansion, then forget it. Tomorrow, mother and your father will go to Zhao Qiagong's mansion to apologize. She has been so humbled. This little will eventually give up her plan to move away. Ling Chu glanced at Dong's hand holding the handkerchief, and said softly, "No need, give me the land deed and the bank note, and I will take it and return it to the Duke of Zhao's house." Ms. Dong was secretly annoyed that Qing'er's marriage was ruined by this little bitch. The banknotes and land deeds were the compensation she gave Qing'er. It's not appropriate for a girl like you to come forward with this kind of thing. I will naturally return it to the Duke of Zhao tomorrow. Sister Chu, listen to your mother, let your mother and your father take care of this matter. Seeing that Ling Chu didn't mention moving out, Mrs. Tai didn't want to say more on this matter. He quickly changed the subject. Okay, it's getting late, let's prepare the meal. Ling Chu didn't say anything anymore. It wasn't that she gave up her thoughts on moving away after hearing what Mrs. Tai and Mrs. Dong said. But I don't want to tangle with them anymore. She came here just to inform them of the establishment of a female household, not to discuss with them. Having obtained her household registration, how could she still stay in the Ling mansion and let them manipulate her? Ling Chu planned to go back and clean up after dinner, and move to a new house tomorrow. Mrs. Dong was in charge of the middle feeder. Hearing Mrs. Tai's call to prepare the meal, she immediately stood up and said, "Mother, I'm going to ask the maids to pass the meal, and by the way, I'll see if Brother Hao's medicine is ready." The wife nodded in agreement. Her eldest grandson had not been feeling well these past 2 days, and she was worried. Ling Chu drank tea quietly and waited for the maid to prepare the meal. After half a cup of tea, Mr. Dong left and came back. Mrs. Tai was concerned about Ling Hao's health for a few words. After learning that he had taken the medicine, she felt relieved and ordered the maid to serve the food. Halfway through the meal, the maid served a dish of old hen soup. The maid put the food in small bowls and brought them to everyone one by one. The cook made the soup well, and added medicinal ingredients. The aroma was so fragrant that even Ling Chu couldn't help but twitch his index finger. Putting down the chopsticks in his hands, Ling Chu picked up the chicken soup and was about to start it. However, without any warning, the system suddenly rang. Ding! Mongolian perspiration drug detected, please pay attention to the host. Ling Chu stopped ladling the soup in his hand and looked down at the bowl in his hand. This chicken soup is golden in color and has an attractive aroma. It is obviously still slightly hot to the touch, but Ling Chu's heart is getting colder little by little. End of chapter. I made a fortune by raiding houses in ancient times. Author, Half-Life Calligraphy. Chapter 230. Ling Chu also wondered why Mr. Dong felt guilty about her just now and regretted agreeing to give her to Zhao Jingming as his concubine. It turned out to be waiting for her here. Seeing her holding the soup but not drinking it, Mrs. Dong felt anxious, but she couldn't show it, lest she get suspicious. Ling Chu raised his eyes, glanced at Mrs. Dong, suddenly stood up, and brought the soup to her. "Mom, you've been looking bad recently. You have to make a hard trip to Zhao Qiagong's mansion tomorrow. My bowl of soup contains a lot of red dates. You can just eat it to replenish your body and avoid being exhausted. Ling Chu was sent to Suankigwan for foster care by the Dong family since he was a child. The relationship between mother and daughter has always been cold. Seeing that she suddenly cared about her mother, everyone present was surprised. Mr. Dong frowned slightly, almost invisible. No need, Mom, it's not hard. You have always been in poor health, and it's the time when you are growing, so you should eat more. Mom doesn't want it, so why not give it to third sister? She is younger than me, and as the older sister, I should take care of her. Ling Qing looked on puzzledly, a little confused by Ling Chu's sudden show of kindness. Ms. Dong didn't wait for her younger daughter to speak and directly refused for her. Your third sister has grown up in the house since she was a child. She has no shortage of this kind of food. You'd better eat it yourself. Why did this little suddenly change her temper? Maybe she discovered something unusual in the soup. After being rejected twice in a row, Ling Chu was not annoyed. He just looked at Mr. Dong calmly and said, since my mother and third sister don't want it, I will give this bowl of soup to my eldest brother. He is not in good health and needs to be replenished. As expected, he is a little with a vicious heart. Ling Hao is her biological eldest brother, how could she bear to harm him? Even though Mr. Dong was furious, it was obvious that Ling Chu turned around and left with the soup, so he could only suppress his anger. Wait a minute, your eldest brother is taking medicine, and this soup is not suitable for him. Since you are filial, I will exchange a bowl with you. Mrs. Tai's brows were furrowed. She originally thought that Ling Chu's sudden show of kindness to Mr. Dong was because he wanted her mother to go to Zhao Qiabio tomorrow to get the concubinage documents back. But now she saw something was wrong on Dong's face. There seemed to be anger in his eyes, and his tone was wrong. Ling Chu came back with the soup and handed the bowl to Mrs. Dong. Okay, then, mother, please drink this soup. Mr. Dong endured her anger and took the bowl of soup lovingly, but did not drink it. She just put it on the table. Instead, she picked up her own bowl and handed it to Ling Chu. Sister Chu is filial, and mother is very happy. Then mother will exchange it with you. You can drink this bowl. Ling Chu didn't move, and Mrs. Dong smiled and wanted to give her the soup. Ding! Mongolian perspiration drug detected, please pay attention to the host's safety. Looking at the bowl of medicine in Dong's hand, Ling Chu felt sad for the original owner. Ms. Dong didn't hear the warning from the system, and still advised her kindly, Sister Chu, the soup is almost cold, drink it quickly. Ling Chu looked at her steadily, his voice as cold as ice. Mom, the eldest brother and the third sister are both your biological children. You picked me up, right? Dong's heart tightened and she glared angrily, what are you talking about? You and your eldest brother are twins. When you were born, my mother almost lost half her life. Ling Chu was suspicious. It turned out that what she just said was just casual. But now, why did she feel that her mother's expression and tone revealed such a trace of sternness? Since I am your biological child, why do you treat your eldest brother and third sister like jewels, but you hate me so much? When did I hate you so much? Even if you were angry with me for fostering you in Xianqing Temple, you shouldn't have wronged me like this. If you want to blame me, it's your own bad fate. If you hadn't punished your 6 relatives, I would have sent you away to foster care. I can't kill the whole government just because of you. Ling Chu sneered, I wronged you, but you didn't hate me to the bone? Then tell me, what's the deal with the sweat medicine in the soup? Dong's expression changed, and the little really knew it. But she did it so covertly, how on earth did she know? What kind of sweat medicine? Everyone was looking at Dong and Ling Chu with suspicious expressions when they suddenly heard an angry shout and subconsciously looked out the door. Ling Mao and Ling Zong, father and son, walked into the flower hall with frowns and angry expressions on their faces. At this moment, a sound of breaking porcelain suddenly sounded. Ling Chu turned around. In front of Mrs. Dong, 2 porcelain bowls were broken into several pieces. The chicken soup in the bowl is flowing along the table to the ground. Ling Mao glanced at the messy table with cups and plates with a majestic look, and said coldly, "What kind of sweat medicine?" "In the flower hall." "Hush." No one spoke. Ling Zong frowned and glanced at his wife, then turned to glare at Ling Chu. "Sister Chu, what happened? What medicine were you talking about?" Although Ms. Dong lowered her head, she felt no fear in her heart. She had already smashed the soup bowl. Without evidence, the little could only settle the matter. Ling Chu did not hide it. "Dad, the chicken soup my mother made me drink just now contains sweat medicine. Sister Chu, I kindly ask the cook to make chicken soup to replenish everyone's health. Even if you hate me for fostering you in a Taoist temple and promising you to the Prince of Zhaoqiagong as a concubine, you can't wrong your mother like this, right? I have already promised you that I will go to Zhaoqiagong's mansion tomorrow to get back the concubine acceptance documents. What else are you dissatisfied with? Do you have to continue to make trouble and make the house restless?" Ling Chu ignored Dong's cry and said coldly to Ling Zong, "Dad, if there is any medicine for sweating, please ask a doctor to come back and test it." Even though the bowl was smashed, the soup was gone. But the little bit left at the bottom of the bowl was enough for the doctor to examine clearly. Ms. Dong's face turned pale and she regretted why she hadn't smashed the 2 bowls to the ground just now. Having been married for many years, Ling Zong could tell at a glance that there was something wrong with Dong's expression. Ling Zong couldn't bear the anger in his heart, and he felt more and more that his wife's attitude towards his eldest daughter was beyond his understanding. "You gave Chuji's son the sweat medicine, what on earth do you want to do? Although I am in charge of Zongji, it does not mean that I administered the drug. After all, Shuja is also my daughter, so how could I drug her for no reason? Who knows if they are planning to wait for me to drink the medicine and then send it to the Duke of Zhao's mansion overnight?" Ling Chu exposed Dong in a cold voice. Seeing that her face was livid with anger, she became more and more suspicious. "Dad, the eldest brother and the 3rd sister are biological children. Could it be that I picked them up or you gave birth to them with another woman?" Ling Chu couldn't bear to doubt that Mr. Dong was so unhappy with her. It is not surprising if he ignores her because of his renunciation. But just because he didn't like her, he gave her to someone else as a concubine, and even drugged her. This can be said to be hate. What normal mother would do such a thing to her biological daughter? Ling Zong didn't expect his eldest daughter to ask such outrageous things, so he glared at her angrily. "What nonsense are you talking about? You and your eldest brother are twins, both born to your mother." Ling Chu kept staring at her father, but didn't see anything unusual in his expression. End of chapter.